Hello, this is Han MMD. Today I'd like to do something a little bit different and make a little simple beginner tutorial video on how to fix clipping. So when we play load the characters in, load your motion in, and start playing it to see how it looks. Everything might look good, and then you kind of notice that, for example, this model Diluc's hand here kind of goes through his coat, his face kind of goes halfway into Jean's head, the other model. And I mean, a lot of people won't really notice clipping like this. In this particular motion it gets bad on some parts, but it does make it look a little bit cleaner if you do fix the animation clipping, and I noticed a lot of people don't fix it in their videos. So I just wanted to go over kind of a simple way here to fix animation clipping. So the first thing I want to do is we'll find where it's clipping. So you can kind of just scroll through your frames here and see where it is you need to change. So we can just look right at the beginning here. We see his hand pretty much goes through his coat, and that does not look right. So once you find the spot, you're going to go over to your model, Diluc in our case, and it's going to be all selected like this. First you're going to click anywhere on the frame menu to make sure everything is deselected once. And I like to hit this track button because that'll make it so it follows the camera, because if it doesn't show up on camera where it's clipping, we don't need to fix it because no one's going to see it if it's not on camera. So from here I also like to deselect once so I can see what's going on. Well, it looks like his hand, it kind of looks like he's sticking it in his coat pocket, but there's no pocket there. It doesn't look right. So to fix that, what we're going to do is we're going to look at what we can change here to fix this problem. So, well, I think the easiest way to fix this is to change how his arm moves a little bit, because that's the main thing that's causing it to poke into his coat like that. And the difficult part about some of the models, especially this one, is the bones are all going to be named Noel something. And yeah, it's really hard to tell which bone is which when they're called Noel. If your model is in a language that you're familiar with, for example, Japanese, you can just go to your help, Japanese mode, and yay, now we can see all the body parts. If you don't read Japanese, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. Since English mode, you're not going to be able to actually see the parts, but you can go back to that select menu and you can kind of try selecting a part here, and we'll tell you which one it is on that screen. So for example, maybe you want to move this one right here. We can expand this and we'll tell you which one it is. For example, the one I just selected was arm wrist twist. And let's see. Here to move the arm, for example, and maybe I'll click Noel 31 here. It looks like one that's going to move a pretty large motion, which will make it easier for us to not have to move as many bones for it to unclip. But one thing you want to make sure, I noticed this is kind of important to make the animation look smooth even after you fix it, is if you decide you're going to move the elbow here, for example, you want to make sure you're creating the movement change where there's already a movement registered. So if we look here at frame 225, we do have a elbow movement registered, so let's go to frame 25 here. And then again, deselect to be able to see it better. And now we have our elbow selected, and we can use our X, Y, and Z rotates here to move it around a little bit. So for example, now it's not poking through his coat. And once it's kind of in a spot that you think looks natural, will look natural in the animation, you can go ahead and press register here. And now when you move it around, you'll notice that his elbow now is slightly off, slightly up higher, and his hand doesn't actually poke through his coat now. But notice as we go on, by the time we get to these frames here, we might have an issue with his arm poking through his coat again. It's actually not too bad. But you're going to look for the next spot you need to fix. And here, I think it's easier if we just keep fixing the same one. Let's move that one out a little bit. Now it's not poking through his coat. Register. And for this particular scene, it wasn't too bad of a clip, but what I like to do is, keep going, moving through until you see another spot that you need to change. For example, I kind of feel like his head is a little too far into Gene's head here, the other model's head. So we want to find his head. Again, select will help a lot. And I think what we want here is his neck, which is this one here. Again, finding the right bone might take a little bit of trial and error if you can't read Japanese. Or your model might actually have the English inputs there, which will make it easier for you. So again, I'm just moving. Now we'll start out, we need to make sure that there's an input at the frame we're moving. You can move his neck around. Make it so it's not quite in Gene's head. And if that's kind of a pose I want him to be at that frame, I click register. And you don't want to move the head around too much, or it might make the animation look a little unnatural. For example, I don't want his head to be way back here. It's going to look very odd. Like, I don't want him to face a completely different direction because it'll change the whole animation at that point. So I would only edit it slightly, just so that it doesn't really change the original animation. It kind of keeps the original animation the way it was meant to be, but just fixes a little bit of issues with clipping through. And here you see on our other model, Gene, she kind of puts her hand through her leg. You can go to Gene. Again, you're going to click once on the screen to make sure everything's deselected. So here I just tabbed over to my other model, and here I can try to find her hand. It's really going to be the same process here. We are looking for which bone is the problem and then moving it. If we kind of play around with this one, it's not really going to help us. But if you move it around way too much and you're like, oh, I actually didn't want to do that, you can actually reset it easily. Just tab one to the left or right for the frame. It'll go back to where it was. I think my favorite one to change is the elbow. You can fix almost all of the clipping, I feel like, with the elbow bone. That might be a good one to note. You might just remember that Knoll 17 or whatever here is the elbow bone. Register that. And well, she's still going to be clipping here a little bit, but we'll just have to fix a few of these. It is a little bit time consuming, but the strategy itself is very simple. You don't really need to know anything about MMD making. I'm very new to the program myself. And this was something that I was able to do. I had enough to download PMX editor or any of that complicated stuff, since that all looks intimidating to me. And it's kind of fun being able to learn how the animations are registered like this. And of course, after you're done editing the animations you want to edit, and make sure you do play it through once to make sure something big didn't mess up. If you're worried, create multiple saves. There is actually an undo button as well, but you don't really want to depend on that too much. And a lot of people just won't notice clipping issues like this. But I personally think it makes a pretty big difference. It just looks much cleaner when the model's not poking his hands into his coat. And again, it's tedious, but it doesn't really take too much skill. It's something that anyone can do. And that's really the cool part about this program, is anyone can make MMDs. You don't need to have any prior experience. It's intimidating at first, but it's actually a pretty newbie-friendly program, which is awesome. So yeah, there we go. Now we could take a look at our motion here. I think we fixed the first 20 seconds or so there. Yep, Dalek is now no longer poking his wrist into his pocket coat. He now no longer puts his head all the way into Jean's hair, and Jean no longer puts her hand all the way into her leg. And sorry about the sloppy video. That was a little bit about how to fix animation clipping in MMD. Hopefully that helps. And if there's an easier way to do it, I am curious as well. Again, I'm pretty new to the program, but I just wanted to share something that I've felt was very useful as a new MMD creator. And yeah, hopefully it'll be useful to all of you as well. And if you all want to check out how this MMD actually turned out, I do actually have a finished version uploaded with all the nice effects. I'm actually very bad at effects, but some nice effects and all the animation edited, so you guys can kind of see how it plays here without any animation editing, and can compare it with how it looks as a finished product after I went through and I literally just did what I explained there over and over and over again until everything looked very clean. And yeah, happy MMD making, everyone. This was the motion for Troublemaker, featuring our models Diluc and Jean. And I hope I was able to help, and thank you for watching.